Aaron, are you going to try to come in video?
Um,
No.
Why don't we just get started? If
Okay,
you can hear me.
I think Nancy's having a speaker problem unless she tells me that she's fine now. Nancy, can you hear us?
And now I can.
Oh, good. Perfect. Okay, that's good.
So I let my grandson play with my computer this weekend. It was a mistake.
Never a good idea.
Okay. No, but I had really limited options. So I
Okay.
knew it would. This is the last of the things I had to undo.
Okay. Well, let me call the meeting to order so we can start talking. Erin is going to just be audio until she can get her video working. So it is, let's see, what is it? Monday, February 8th at 6:18. I'm calling to order a meeting of the Facilities and Service Committee. Present are council members Nancy Rogoff, Aaron Grube, and Angela DiBernardo, as well as CIO Rob Jameson, Mayor Bill Tomko, and that's it. Tonight we have three things on the agenda. The first item I wanted to knock off was the ordinance that I sent to all of you today, this ordinance 2021-13, which is our contract with OneView Communications for fiber access. And I was wondering, Rob, can you just kind of, run us through that? Sorry, are you listening? Can you run us through that, the contract and this ordinance? I know that it's all good things, but I just want to get a committee recommendation on it for council.
Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
We have an annual contract for internet fiber connection solely for the police department. This is for their computer server, all their dispatch connections with CVD for their CAD systems. And it's completely separate from the Village Hall connection. And they do that for security reasons and reliability, things like that, meet certain requirements for security purposes. So we've had a contract with OneView for many years in the past. Last year, we were paying $1,099 per month for this fiber connection, and that contract is expiring. So we looked into a renewal. We looked around, and we still found that OneView offered a very competitive rate at a savings of over $349 each month. Their new quote is $750 per month, down from that $1,099. And also the internet speed is much faster than the old connection. So better service, lower price. And by locking into a new 3-year agreement, we will lock into that cost over the next 3 years. So it's pretty much a no-brainer in my view that we're saving money, better service, good pricing for 3 years.
It sounds like, yeah, I mean, I agree. It sounds like, obviously, compared to what we've been doing, this is the right move. Only question I have is just out of curiosity, why the drop in price? Is it competition? Is it what's the deal?
I'm guessing it's competition and just with technology, costs come down a little bit.
It might be just Moore's Law, Angie.
Right. Okay.
Lisa, our police department, helped work the quotes out and did the research on this. And I was very pleased to present this proposal to us. So
Okay, so it's 3 years. Okay, and then
6-month term.
Okay. Do any other people on the committee have any questions about this contract, or are we good with recommending it to council? Or
Good.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
good.
good.
And you're good. Okay. Can I just? I know. I'm
You
just.
want a
I'm just.
motion?
Can I have a motion? Yeah. Can I have a motion?
I move to recommend to council that they adopt this ordinance for the contract.
Second.
Okay. So motion by Rogoff, seconded by Grube. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all unanimous. Okay, great. So good. So we can do that tonight. And then the second item that I wanted to cover, because I want to be able to give an update to council, is to discuss this issue of lighting the falls and the petition that that we received from change.org and the gentleman that spoke to us at our last council meeting. I think I sent that out to everyone. I guess the way where I am on this is, I think the first decision we need to make is whether or not we want to have the falls lit at all. And then after that, we need to move in, if we do want to have them lit, move into what is the appropriate way to approach that. So I don't know how we want to run this discussion. I'm happy to give my thoughts first, or if somebody else on council or the mayor or anybody wants to chime in with where we are on the issue of just lighting the falls. Do we want to do it?
I'll kick off. I'm
Yeah.
not really in favor of it. I'm not really opposed to it.
Mhm.
I think if the falls were to be lit, we ought to restrict it to Friday and Saturday night and have some requirements as to hours that it could be lit. But I'm not a big proponent. If you noticed on that petition that he sent to us, almost everybody was not a Chagrin Falls resident. Some weren't even from the area. So,
Right.
I haven't noticed any groundswell of support. That's kind of my view.
Yeah.
So,
The mayor, I think it's worthy of a community conversation. I think if we wanted to have some community input on it, that would be fine. But short of seeing like a push from the local community, I'm sort of hesitant to pick this up and run with it, considering the number of projects we have upcoming this year I'm not opposed to it.
I second that view. I second that view.
Nancy?
yeah, and I don't have a problem considering it, but I think it needs to be a village controlled thing if we were going to do it.
Amen, Nancy. Amen.
Yeah, and that that we ought to think of it, at least in my view anyway, this is my opinion, that we think of it as a real special thing, a special event. I mean, we've lit the falls for the film festival. That's a special event. Maybe Blossom, maybe 4th of July, some special events, and not make it so common and mundane that it just kind of ordinary anymore. Because
That's a very good point.
it is a big deal to do it, and at least that's my feeling on it. If we were going to do it at all, that it would be a unique, special thing.
That's a very good point. I had not considered that angle on, obviously anything that gets people to town is something that I'm usually in favor of doing, but I don't know whether I agree, there's no groundswell of people coming from our town saying, why aren't we lighting the falls? I do know that occasionally when I was in my capacity with Your Hometown Chagrin Falls, we get people calling us and asking us if they could light the falls, but they were always companies that were calling us to ask if they could light the falls. They weren't like people calling to say, why aren't the falls lit? So I don't think there's any rush on this. I agree that, we can open the conversation with the community. And I think those are both valuable points that the mayor makes, that if it were going to happen, it should only be on the weekends. And I think also Nancy's point that if it's lit all the time, who cares? It's not a special
it
thing
becomes
anymore.
like a street light, Angie. And I'll tell you,
Yeah.
Right.
you weren't here back in 03, 04, 05. Nancy will know what I'm talking about. But when we were doing the decorative lighting, there was a groundswell of keep the night dark or dark nights or
exactly.
something like that.
True.
And they're going to come out big by big if we have huge
True.
lighting projects of the falls. And even if you do it with LED, you're going to have an ongoing cost beyond installing them for the power. And
Sure.
I think I would be in favor of what Nancy just said for special occasions. But I'm not really very enthusiastic about having them lit 365.
Agreed. Okay. Well, it sounds like we actually have a consensus on this, that we all feel like at this time it's not appropriate for us to move into lighting the falls, but that we can continue the conversation for a special events purpose. To look at, to maybe find a way that people can apply. Would we then set up our own equipment to light them and then let people apply for us to light them on special occasions? Or what are we envisioning for that? Or would this be something like the Film Fest where they bring in people and light them?
I mean, if you're going to let people light them multiple times a year, it's probably more cost effective in the long run to permanently install the lights so that they're minimally invasive. It could be done along with the bridge project so that it's sort of built into something.
Okay.
And then you would apply to the village. The village would be able to control them. They can control this stuff with apps. It's
True.
pretty user friendly, apparently. Tom Psycho, who grew up on East Washington. I spoke to him when this first came up in the fall, and it sounds like it's a pretty simple app, like on an iPad or a laptop, that you can just sort of like make level adjustments, color adjustments. They're pretty flexible in that sense. So
Okay.
if you installed it just for special event lighting, those lights could, if the community changed its intention, also still provide very low level, sort of like gentle lighting as well for ambient lighting. So it sounds pretty flexible if we wanted to go that route. And if we were lighting it multiple times a year, my understanding is that there's definitely a more cost-effective way, which would be impermanently
Yeah,
installed.
and for sure, if we do anything, we ought to wait till the bridge gets done.
Right,
Rob's gonna
absolutely.
report on the bridge tonight.
Perfect. Okay, good. Nancy?
I almost forgot about the bridge.
We wish we could, but we're moving
Exactly.
forward with it.
That's good. Okay, so so it sounds like there's a plan in place with the lighting of the falls. We're going to put this on the back burner for now. We're going to look into maybe doing some type of temporary lighting or some type of lighting design once the bridge is done that would be under village control and would most likely be for special events. Does that accurately reflect what?
Yeah, I think that
Okay.
accurately reflects.
Okay,
Unless
all
there was
right.
a
I don't.
huge- Unless there was a huge groundswell from the community asking for something different.
Okay, and we can put that, I mean, so I just want to, I don't think we have anything to vote on. I just think I wanted to just get a conversation so I could report back to council tonight, since this was referred to us. So I'll tell them that's what our consensus was at the committee meeting, and we'll see what happens from there. I know that Barb did write it up Barb Christian did write it up in the paper the last time it came up at council. So I imagine if something's going to swell up from the community, we will hear.
Yeah,
So,
agree.
okay. So on to the last and least exciting item, the parks rules. So Nancy, I know that both Erin, when she was in the capacity of the parks rep, worked on researching parks rules. And then when you took over as the parks rep, you spent a year researching park rules. I just want to get a feel for where we are on the park rules, anything we need to change or put in place. And then also we need to get something in place in terms of how people will apply for holiday decorations, and how we will work on placing holiday decorations by probably, I think we decided June.
I think it was July, but June or
Right.
July.
So that people can basically we'll have kind of a Christmas in July program where people will get their Christmas act together in July. So so if we can know how we want people to approach us by then, that would be great. So, this is not something that has to be done tonight, but I thought we could get the ball rolling and we get that deadline out there that we need to make this happen. So Nancy, with that, can I ask you, can you give us an update of where we're at? Should we start? Like, are we with a blank sheet of paper, or do we have something to work on, or what? Where are we with this?
I think it's at least for the holiday lights, it is a blank sheet of paper.
Okay.
I think maybe we should address that because it's a more immediate, seems to be anyway, a more immediate concern than just the general park use that
Okay.
we've been dealing with the current application. And I think that's been, going along fairly well.
Right.
So do we want a special application for the holiday period, which would be like, say, like November 1st to January 1st, roughly, for holiday lights, and make that a special category and a special application? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but I don't know what anybody really wants to do with that.
Well, since
I think you got to treat the holiday as special.
Okay.
Because that's when you're going to have the competition. Somebody
Right.
wanted to put something in there on August 15th, for example, this potential of them competing with somebody for the same space is pretty low. Christmas is pretty high.
True.
Also, I think we also want to kind of consider how much public space we want to devote to decoration. And not that that's ever been a problem, but I don't want to see it where, say, one group wants to come in and put up a very large display that would take over a greater percentage of the triangle or
Right.
the
Yeah.
entrance to Riverside, trying to outdo or outshine somebody else. Not that that's ever been a problem, but something to
I think
look
that's a
at,
good point.
Yeah,
just to,
it is.
so we have some way of being fair and ensure that everybody that comes in has an equal shot, an equal amount of space, and that it looks balanced as you come through town.
I guess my thought on this is I would definitely have a separate application. I would I want to work with the community organizations that already do decorations, and they do need that information in July so that they can place any orders they have with vendors. So I guess in my dream world, or my initial world, just talking about this, I would have an application process that closed, I don't know, end of June. Give the administration a couple weeks to sort of deal with any conflicting space requests. I would ask them for insurance. They would be responsible for putting anything into the park. They'd be responsible for cleaning it up. We would need contact information and secondary contacts just in case. I would ask that they provide their own electricity. We don't have cords, obviously. All staking has to go through the service department so we don't puncture water lines and things like that that are, residing in Riverside. And then, if we get additional applications, we would take them on a rolling basis after the initial decision process. I don't think it'll be super complicated. I think people will mostly stay out of each other's way and find their own spaces. But I do like Rob's idea that we only have so much space we can offer. So I don't know, maybe we need to just delineate which spaces we do have.
So define spaces ahead of time and say, like, there are these locations where we can put decorations, and once they're full, they're full. The question, I'm assuming with all of this that we have to make up our desired rules and then go to Dale and make sure that what we're doing is legal.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Right,
I agree
right.
with that, Angie.
So, so I agree with everything you said, Aaron. The only other thing that I know that has been brought up before that we probably need to address in there somewhere, if it's legal to do so, is a lot of the Christmas decorations are sponsored by people, and I just don't want it to turn into an advertising thing where basically there's these giant sponsor signs on things.
Yeah,
So we
agreed.
need to figure out how to address that in
Yep.
terms of what you can put up,
Well, I think you just limit it to not-for-profit, Angie, and that's it. And there can be no more donor signs other than, so many square inches or square.
Right, it's like square inch, right, exactly. So I think what maybe we need to do is get a draft of the different, basically the requirements we expect them to meet. And I guess my concern, and then get that to Dale and see what Dale says. I guess I do have can we cut off a date that people apply? That's what I don't know. I mean, obviously we would like to do
I
that.
think-
Can we turn
I
people
wouldn't
down?
do a cutoff. I would do an initial thing for initial placement, and then I would do it on a roll, let the administration offer additional, let's call them quote unquote permits, on a rolling basis after that.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is it acceptable to say to a group at some point, there's no more space at the inn?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas appropriate.
As long as the
Like-
rules are known in advance
Okay,
and they're not set so as to exclude somebody.
it's
I
okay.
think you're fine with that. I mean,
Okay.
it's, I don't know who pointed out, but 6 months lead time to order decorations
Right.
for the holidays is about standard. So putting a deadline on July, working out what goes where, everything's acceptable,
Sounds good.
et cetera, et cetera. I think it's perfectly normal. And then to establish something like you got to apply 30 days in advance,
Mhm.
and we could be reasonable. I mean, I can't think of one right now, but maybe there's some reason you couldn't apply 30 days. And, we have variance procedures. We'd look at that if there was extraordinary facts, but like that old sign of failure to plan doesn't constitute. an
Right,
emergency.
exactly.
And
So in some of my other research, when other organizations had determined which spaces were open for public events, they were then able to say these places are not open for public events. So the question I think I would want to ask Dale is, if we determine these are the spaces that are open for
Right.
decorations,
Right.
we
Can
then
do
are
that?
allowed to say these are not open for decorations.
That
Because
would give us the ability to control, like, look, we have 10 locations where people can put up decorations. Once those 10 are
Correct.
gone, we're done. Like, there's no
Yeah.
more space. So
That's what we're all
right.
thinking, Angie.
right. Okay. So I guess what we need to do is we need some kind of draft. Nancy, are you taking notes? Or you like? Looks
Yeah,
like
I am taking notes.
Okay.
But so in terms of spaces, but are we talking about parks also? I mean, are we only thinking of Riverside Park?
I think I think we need to define everything if we do this, because if people come in and apply and it's not defined, we need to say it's available or it's not available. I guess is what I think.
Okay, to
Right.
certain parks.
Right. In our
Okay.
public park space, right? Because
We
it'll just
would-
be park use.
For instance, we could say that Triangle Park is not available for this. I'm not saying.
Right,
we should,
right,
but
exactly. Like if we
okay.
wanted to say that, we could
Okay.
say, we won't have any holiday decorations in River Run Park if we feel like, what's the point?
For
Right.
the tree and the sleigh, because that was what really was driving the people there.
Exactly. Right. Well, in the and Whitesburg, like we could say Whitesburg, no decorations in Whitesburg. It's a conservation park. You know, like, right. So
Well, it's not a park, it's a conservation.
it's a
district.
conservation area, right? So I guess from either parks or administration, we need to know what are the appropriate areas of the park. Like somebody has to define those. Where are we going to say these are the spots for decoration? Unless you want us to do that. I mean, we can do that.
Well, I think we're gonna have to have a discussion on that, because when you look at
Right.
what decorations are placed at Triangle, obviously you have the giant holiday tree. And you have some smaller holiday trees too, that are in balance with the surrounding green space. But,
Right.
you know, those areas are, okay, you put your tree there, but does that mean that's the only thing that can go in that one little section of lawn?
Right.
And we do have some concerns about buried utilities in that park and things, about
Absolutely.
putting 5 different stuff and things in one spot. So
Okay.
I think we'll have to kind of have a discussion, at another time about what decorations are being placed up now on a regular basis and how we can capture that and then build off of that.
Do you want me to
Right.
see if the JCs have a map of what they currently put out?
That would be helpful, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
talk to Sean and see.
We'll get that from them. So, okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll plan another meeting for facilities and services to just come back together with this information. Once we have a map, we have a draft, we have information from the JCs. And then we will have something that we can pass on to Dale. And then just make sure that this is, and then I assume we're just looking at an application. I don't know if this will take legislation or if this is just
Yeah,
goes,
it would.
it would. Okay, so we'll pass, so we'll figure out what legislation we need. And then we can just pass it off to the administration, because it sounds like this will be an application procedure, just like an event. Where it will then
Yeah,
go to the
that's what I'm
administration,
thinking.
right?
It is an event, so.
It is, right. It's a decoration thing. So, okay, so, all right, so you want to, will it move us along enough to meet at the beginning of March to get this done, or do we need
Yeah,
to?
I
Yeah,
think so. I
remember
mean,
you got the budgets coming up, so, it depends on how many nights you wanted to vote.
Right,
I think the budget's a
absolutely.
separate meeting. You can't do it before council, although there's nothing in there that's going to surprise anybody, and there's nothing unbalanced. There's no unusual requests. It ought to be pretty pro forma to go through it.
Nance, sorry. You can finish your sentence. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I just was cautioning Angie.
Sure, I'm planning a
tonight
meeting,
Because
right,
if
the
you want
March
a
meetings,
special meeting for that,
right.
and we've got a council meeting, and we have a budget meeting.
So we might be
you
very
can do it by
meetinged out.
itself. So I was just cautioning her on that stuff. I don't care when you.
So Nancy, so Erin, were you about to ask Nancy a question?
Yeah, I was saying, Nancy, do you want to do a draft or do you want me to do a draft?
Yeah, I mean, I can do a draft outline of what
An
requirements
application.
we would want
Sure, all right, yeah,
and what kind of space we would want to allocate.
okay. That sounds good. So,
Okay.
so I will send out an email then. We're gonna look at what the schedule is for the budget meetings in March, because I think that does take priority. And then we will plan to have a follow-up meeting where we will look at what we put together for a parks application for holiday decorations at either the beginning of March or the middle of March or the end of February, depending on what happens with this budget meeting. Okay, does that work?
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else? This is miscellaneous. Anyone have anything else for us, or we're
No.
good?
I'm good.
All right. Okay, I'm
Oh,
gonna say,
I was going to mention, I was approached with a possible donation to help us with Riverside Park. So I'm exploring that and I will follow up with you guys as I learn more.
donation for what part of Riverside Park, or what?
I would like to make sure I understand the whole donation, but it looks like probably the playground space.
Okay.
Okay, so you will follow up with us at our next meeting, or when you get more information?
And as soon as I have more information.
Okay, get some more information.
Get more information.
The lady
But-
in black. Okay.
Yeah. Serious.
Okay. All right. I am going to adjourn our meeting if we don't have anything else. And so Erin can work out her camera before council. All right. So at 6:42 p.m., I am adjourning the facilities